Let's move on to the OpenAI news. We got a clip from Sam Altman. He is in France at an AI summit. JD Vance is there. Emmanuel Macron is there. Lots of heavy hitters, lots of size lords. But of course, they asked Sam about the craziness from yesterday. Elon submitted a bid to buy the OpenAI nonprofit for something like $97.1 billion or $97.4 billion. Obviously, that complicates the for-profit spin-out and conversion process that's obviously kind of unprecedented at this scale. And so let's go to Sam. Let's hear what he had to say in France about this offer.
OpenAI is not for sale. The OpenAI mission is not for sale. Elon tries all sorts of things for a long time. This is this week's episode.
You take it seriously at all? What do you think he's trying to drive at with this?
I think he's probably just trying to slow us down. He obviously is a competitor. He's working hard and he's raised a lot of money for XAI, and they're trying to compete with us from a technological perspective, from getting the product into the market. And I wish he would just compete by building a better product, but I think there's been a lot of tactics, many lawsuits, all sorts of other crazy stuff. Now this, and we'll try to just put our head down and keep working.
Do you think Musk's approach then is from a position of insecurity about XAI?
Probably his whole life is from a position of insecurity. I feel for the guy.
You feel for him?
I do, actually. I don't think he's like a happy person. I do feel for him.
Okay. Do you worry that he has this proximity to the president and he can influence the decision making of the US presidency and policies around this agenda on AI?
Not particularly. Maybe I should, but not particularly. I mean, I try to just wake up and think about like how we're going to make our technology better.
What do you think, Jordy?
Narrator. He wasn't just thinking about how to make the technology better. Elon, here's the whole situation. Elon feels that Sam has played extremely dirty, doing the whole, I'm just doing this because I love it bit, Senate, testifying in front of the Senate to then converting into a for-profit. Elon is frustrated because he was very early to this trend. Now he's playing catch up with XAI. Mm-hmm. Both of them in their own ways have been playing dirty, right? Elon's choosing to do that through lawfare, and it's in many ways exactly what Elon should be doing, right? He feels like he was slighted, feels like he deserves some aspect of some position in the company, and then simultaneously Sam is doing exactly what he should be doing, which is fighting the lawsuits, trying to keep the team focused on the mission and the product and winning. And when I look at every founding journey is like a roller coaster ride. Anybody that's built a company will tell you it's like a roller coaster ride. One day you're super stoked, the next day you're questioning is this going to work? And if you think about Sam's last 2 weeks, it's okay, DeepSeek launches, and so that's a low moment, and then they launch deep research, and then he's getting, and then it's a Super Bowl ad, and then a new lawsuit, new offer to buy the company. So it's it's the waves that he's going through. I don't think regardless of your position on Sam or OpenAI or Elon, as former CEO of a much, a company that is tiny fraction of the size. I feel for Sam in terms of the roller coaster that he's going through and how difficult the job is, where, I just posted about this 5 minutes ago. Sam is actively competing with 4 of his former co-founders in OpenAI that have all raised billions of dollars. So not only is he fighting the world's richest man, he's in lawsuits, he's getting attacked by DeepSeek, he's fighting 3 other of his former partners. And so the pressure, it can't be overstated how much pressure he's under. And so I think that I read this as good talking points. He's nailing it. It's a good response, but you can tell it's wearing on him. Getting to the point where he's saying, I wish that they would just focus on the product or the technology. So it's clearly wearing on him. And I don't know, there's not many people on earth that would be able to deal with this much pressure for this long while being this much in the spotlight, while trying to innovate in a very meaningful way while trying to stay ahead of all these other labs, while trying to stay ahead of China, while facing, I didn't even bring up like Meta and Facebook and Llama, right? Like that's been a whole other aspect. And so, Sam made a choice to play the biggest game in the most competitive space, and now he's dealing with the repercussions on that. But there's not a CEO on the planet that's under more pressure than Sam Altman.
Yeah. And it certainly does. It pales in comparison to like Steve Jobs was not under the same level of pressure when he was launching the iPhone. Even Zuck, I mean, they were making movies about him as a kid, basically. Basically hit piece movies about everything he did. It was rough. He did not have the world's richest man going after him at that time. And in fact, he was partnering with Microsoft and Bill Gates, and it was somewhat of a friendly relationship. It wasn't that much of like Google wants to kill you. Yeah, Google launched Google Circles or whatever that was. I can't even remember the name, but it was like kind of a shot across the bow. It was nowhere near as serious as what's going on right now. And so what's interesting is that Sam actually has to kind of restate the fact that, hey, this the nonprofit is still going to exist. Like people don't even understand what's going on there. It's not that the nonprofit is converting. It's that almost like you're running a nonprofit, you discover some, gold in those hills that you happen to own, or like you invent something brilliant and then you're spinning it out as a company. You're effectively selling that asset off the balance sheet of the nonprofit. And it's very confusing because the nonprofit does want to continue going on, and it's not really a full conversion. There's actually two organizations that are going to split out, but it's all been so complicated from day one that it's been just there's been so many vectors to attack it. And it's not just Elon. Zuck has also put pressure on them in California for trying to do this. And what's interesting is that I think about the dawn of OpenAI, like what the initial pitch was and what the initial strategy was. And it's very clear to me that no one actually predicted scaling laws would be as capital intensive as they wound up being. The thought was, let's get the smartest people in the world, the smartest computer scientists. Greg Brockman, he was the CTO of Stripe. He's already really, really rich, probably a billionaire. He's going to work for a nonprofit for whatever, healthcare. It doesn't matter. And a lot of people are going to say, hey, yeah, I could make $2 million a year at Google doing ads, but this nonprofit's still going to pay for my health insurance, pay for my kids. It's going to be a fine life. And I get to work on the most important problem in human history. If it was just a human capital problem of just let's design the perfect algorithm for AI, game over. You don't need the capital. It works as a nonprofit. The original strategy works, but then they run into the scaling law, and all of a sudden, it's very funny to me. It feels like the machine god of AGI is like, okay, humanity, if you want to summon me fully, you have to be all in on capitalism. None of this nonprofit. This nonprofit stuff just does not work. You have to be a highly tuned capital formation machine in order to make this happen, because I demand GPUs. I demand sacrifice of GPUs to the Shoggoth. And so it's well very said. Interesting how it's played out. But what else have you taken away? And then maybe let's move into some posts and some reactions to this. Yeah, news.
It's an interesting scenario to think about. Would OpenAI be the company it is today if it didn't have this massive group of founders that now is its biggest detractor, right? The fact that you have Mira going and raising billions for a company to directly compete with the original company. You have Ilya doing the same thing, right? You have John going to Anthropic, helping them out, now going and joining Mira, right?
Yep.
So in many ways, it's like the company probably wouldn't exist in its current form if it didn't have like all these brilliant minds working on it. But it also set it up because of how, brilliant and independently gifted all those, founders were. It also caused all of them to basically think, I can do this better myself, right?
Yeah.
And I'm going to do this better myself, and I can attract the capital. And, if who knows, right? And they're all sort of drafting off of OpenAI in terms of like the billions of dollars that were spent on, research internally and the learnings from that, and just like generally being able to go faster with their new ventures. But it's certainly completely unprecedented, and I can't wait to watch the read the Ashley Vance book or documentary, because it's gonna be absolutely wild.
For sure. Let's move on to some posts. Kevin Kwok says Elon's OpenAI bid, of course, is to move FMV, fair market value, for nonprofit conversion. Interestingly, this has been gray area in tech startups because technically anyone can screw up a company's 409A/option pool planning by sending unsolicited term sheet, which is very interesting. I didn't know that you could actually do this. Hasn't been a major issue because it would be a very aggressive move and burn bridges. Plus, mostly companies are fuzzier on all this stuff with IRS than they should be. But this has been a known attack area for a while. Kevin follows up and says, I really do want to spend one day, I really want to one day spend a weekend talking with both OpenAI and Elon's legal/tax people. Not about this thing, just in general. They have such amazing structures they have navigated. Sigh. And I love that he's just like, I want to nerd out with these folks because they've done such crazy stuff. And it really is crazy. I know multiple people that got early access to OpenAI in their first for-profit like fundraising, and they just passed, even though it's like, how could you pass on that team? Like the initial team was like Greg Brockman, Sam Altman. Like it's just the most insane founding team. And it's like, they're going to make money. Like you shouldn't, it's all green flags. And then you just see the biggest red flag ever, which is like, you're not getting stock, you're getting units. and of course, like it seems like it's going to work out and it could, but it's obviously such a knockout drag-out fight.
Yeah. I mean, there's so many reasons that you could have written a memo and said, I love the team and the opportunity, but it's not the right fit for our firm. On his note about, term sheets potentially screwing up 409As and option pools, every startup founder eventually goes to a position where they're expecting a term sheet and then they're trying to process a bunch of employee onboarding type stuff to make sure that it hits before getting that term sheet. And I've been in positions before where I've told the investor, wait until end of day Monday to send this because I need to get a few things in order to make sure that my, people that are about to join the team or getting refresher grants are going to get them at the previous valuation effectively.
And so SMB attorney says what Elon Musk just did in his 97 billion bid for OpenAI is genius. The previous go private price was 40 billion. He's playing chess. Here's why. Delaware courts apply something called the Revlon rule to M&A bidding situations. When a board decides to sell a company, their legal fiduciary duty shifts to getting the highest price for shareholders. But OpenAI isn't a normal company. It started as a nonprofit, then created a for-profit arm, OpenAI LP, to raise investment. That structure creates a legal gray area. Musk's bid isn't about just buying OpenAI. It's about forcing a decision. If OpenAI's board considers transitioning fully into a for-profit company, Musk's bid puts them in a position where they might have to apply Revlon rules, maximizing value just like any other corporate sale. It's a strategic move that could expose whether OpenAI is still mission-driven or if it's just another big tech company playing Wall Street rules. And that's the real play. Musk is challenging OpenAI's leadership on both legal and ethical level, testing whether their decisions align with their original vision or the financial incentives of investors like Microsoft. Sam Altman and OpenAI's board rejected Musk's offer outright, but that response raises more questions than it answers. You see, they probably have a duty to create a special committee, consider all offers, and entertain an auction. If OpenAI isn't a company that can be bought, why did they take billions in investment? If they are a company that can be bought, why turn down 97 billion? Either way, Musk has put them in a position where they have to justify their existence, not just to him, but to the Delaware Chancery Court. It all comes back to Delaware, baby.
It's crazy because Delaware,
screwed over Musk.
Certainly Elon has had his issues with Delaware, but the Delaware courts have proven to be unpredictable, right? Everybody would have said there's no way that they're going to entertain this ridiculous lawsuit from a shareholder that has 7 shares that clearly is just basically working on behalf of lawyers that are going to make hundreds of millions if this decision goes. And just with that, some people were predicting, we covered this last week, that the decision to end Elon's pay package could literally cost Delaware billions of dollars in lost tax revenue as companies say, hey, you know what, I'm going to go to Nevada, I'm going to go to Texas. So I feel like Delaware is unpredictable right now. We've seen their judges be, make sort of more political decisions, but this is such an unprecedented situation, so much gray area, so many conflicts. It's such a, I don't know that there's great precedent in Delaware for nonprofit to for-profit conversions that have already raised tens of billions of dollars. It's just, nobody really knows. And I think, yeah, we were able to live react to this on the show yesterday. It was very obvious that he was throwing like this $100 billion wrench or $100 billion grenade into
Yeah.
the for-profit conversion. And it's great to see SMB attorney kind of breaking down like, hey, what's actually going on behind the scenes here? And it really comes down to like, it's an ethics thing. There's a legal question. It seems like if OpenAI's board just immediately rejected it, then to me, like at least the board is kind of aligned on the deal that they want to do.
Yeah.
But then again, if you get the courts involved, maybe like they start poking holes in that decision.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there leads to some legal precedent that allows more nonprofits to convert to for-profits. We've been advocating for the Red Cross and PETA to go for-profit, and we'd love to see more nonprofits move over to the venture capital world, or maybe do private equity.
Yeah, I want to
buyouts.
see PETA transition to a private military contractor and actually
Great.
put it on the line and defend the animals,
Exactly.
commando
Yeah.
style.
Exactly.
And if you could, basically
Blackwater for poaching.
Blackwater for pets. Yeah.
Yeah, Blackwater for poaching. Oh, you think you're taking down an elephant? Well, there's a Apache helicopter coming through.
Yeah.
Paid for by PETA
A Reaper.
shareholders.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This
Reaper drones
drone.
going to be circling every hippo in the savannah. Anyway, let's close with some great analysis, as always, from Ben Thompson over at Stratechery, an absolute dog. He says, the OpenAI nonprofit is controlled by its board, which does not have a fiduciary duty to maximize OpenAI's value. Again, because it's a nonprofit, that means it can say no. At the same time, the structure that lets OpenAI's board say no is exactly what Altman is trying to get rid of in favor of a for-profit structure that will unlock new investment. And so he says, I think that's as far as the story goes. While Musk needed to round up a viable investment group to make this offer legitimate and would gladly take over OpenAI if his offer were accepted, the primary motivation and the primary outcome is very likely to make an already complicated and pricey transaction even more so. So I think we'll close there. We'll see where it goes. Maybe there's more wrinkles in this story. I'm sure there'll be more drama. The boys are fighting. It feels like that scene in The Matrix when Neo and Morpheus are fighting, and all the crew, Neo and Morpheus are fighting, and they got to go in and watch because it's a knockout, drag out fight. Two of the greatest tech entrepreneurs in the modern era warring, and we'll be here reporting on it, folks. So stay tuned.